Why is voting important?
Voting is essential in any democracy because a vote is your power. In a democracy, the people have to govern. And once every 5 years, they get the opportunity to hire and fire with their vote. If they're happy with how the government has governed, if they're happy with the progress that is being made, and government is always a work in progress, if they're happy with the integrity and the effort of the leaders they previously elected to lead them, then they endorse that government with their vote. If they believe it's time for change, then they fire that government with their vote. And that, at root, is what democracy means.
Why should young South Africans vote in 2014 in particular?
Young South Africans are shaping the future. They have to live in the country of the future, and the country of the future depends on the government of the present. So if young people want to shape their future and the future of South Africa in the world, they need to take responsibility now for taking the decision that will have been right 10 to 20 years from now. That is their responsibility. Many, many people struggled and many died and paid very high sacrifices for your right to vote. So use it. Because if people don't use a democracy, they certainly lose it.
Do you think that South Africans have what it takes to take the country forward? Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
South Africa is renowned throughout the world for doing things that analysts say is impossible to get done. And that is one thing that makes us all very proud to be South African. At heart, we know that we need to make this country together, not break it. And we know that we can do the impossible, or at least what other people think is impossible, through common sense. The sad thing is that common sense is not so common. But it is common in South Africa when we have our backs against the wall and know that it is up to us. And that is why I have no doubt that we can become one of the world's most successful and sustainable democracies. But it depends on everybody taking their responsibility seriously, and it starts with a vote.
What will happen if young people choose to stay at home and not vote?
If young people choose to stay at home and not vote, that is a choice. That is saying, we don't care actually how things work out. We're not really interested. And it doesn't matter anyway. Well, of course, it matters hugely, as our history has shown. There's nothing inevitable about history. It is a combination of the individual choices people make in specific circumstances. Individuals, groups of individuals, can change the world as they do, always, by making the choices that they make. And so staying at home and not bothering is a choice. It is almost like spitting in the faces of all of those who struggled so hard to make South Africa a democracy.
Can you shed some light on this idea of a united opposition and how people should interpret political opposition, parties in opposition aligning themselves?
It's very important to realize that political parties have to stand for a big idea. And it is not just a question of every party that is against the government getting together and forming one big opposition, as appealing as that may sound. Because if they can't unite around what they are for, around a political idea, a political philosophy at root that translates into political policies and programs and that can be implemented in the real world, then there's no point in coming together simply to be against something else. We've tried very hard to bring together in politics all of those who believe in the idea of the open society with freedom for all, and the opportunity society with real opportunities for all, with equity, with redress, with reconciliation, and with all of the things that South Africa needs. That is the set of ideas that the Democratic Alliance stands for. And we would like to bring together everybody who believes in that set of ideas for all South Africans.
Youth unemployment is a particular concern for the majority of young South Africans. It's been at about 50% for more than a decade. Why do you think that is, and how do we go about solving that?
There are two reasons for youth unemployment. One is we've had very slow economic growth, and our policies make it difficult to create jobs and to get jobs in South Africa. The second reason is that the education system has failed young people in South Africa. Not only is the education system very poor of itself for the majority of young South Africans, although some schools are outstanding even in the public sector, not only has the education system failed them per se, but the major failure of the system is that it does not align with the opportunities that are developing in the world of work, in the economy. And so there are several things that we have to get right. A set of policies that will encourage economic growth so that people invest and create jobs. And an education system that understands where jobs will be created, what the skill sets are that are required to fill those jobs, and that ensures that young people get the education they need to move into those jobs. That is what is needed. We also need a youth wage subsidy to encourage people to employ young people who have no experience, who need that first-time opportunity to get their foot on the rung of the ladder of the economy. And we stand foursquare behind a youth wage subsidy that we're implementing where we can in Cape Town to give young people a first opportunity to get that critical job and show what they're worth. And then we also have a system of internships in government, 700 young people this year getting internships to get experience in the world of work through different government departments. Wonderful opportunities for young people. But if we want to have sustainable job creation for young South Africans, we have to grow the economy through good policies, through attracting investment and growing businesses, and we have to have education policies that ensure that people have the skills they need to get the jobs that are created.
Tell us a more personal story about your experiences relating to democracy that could be encouraging for young South Africa.
South Africa is a much, much better place today than it was when I was growing up. When I was growing up in a patriarchal and racist system, one's little hole was worked out for the little peg that everybody else thought you were. You were defined on the basis of race, of gender, your opportunities were determined. And the struggle for freedom is the struggle for the space to be the best you can be, to decide your own identity, and to have the opportunities to live your dream through hard work, through effort, through focus. And that is what we've struggled for. And many people who have grown up in a context where there is so much more freedom often don't appreciate what it means to have those opportunities. And so it often gets translated as, what is the government doing for me? The role of government is to ensure that everybody has freedom and real opportunity. And then it is up to every individual to use that opportunity to the best of their ability. It is up to every parent to be a committed and dedicated parent and do the best for their children. So the improvement of life is a process that involves many, many people, not only a government, every individual, every family, every institution. We've got a long way to go in South Africa, a long, long way to go. Not everybody has a fair opportunity in life, not by a long shot. But our job is to make sure that they do, and they can use that opportunity to transform their circumstances.
Is there anything else in particular you think young people should look out for in the upcoming election? Perhaps electoral reform?
South Africa has a very good constitution, but no constitution can withstand the concentration of too much power in too few hands, because that inevitably leads to the abuse of power that even a good constitution can't stop. The only thing in a democracy that can stop power abuse, that can stop corruption, that can stop a system that rewards friends and family of powerful politicians, is the individual person with a vote. Politicians must be frightened of voters for a democracy to work. And politicians who can take it for granted that they will win an overwhelming majority in every single election don't have to be frightened of the voters. They can be as corrupt as they like. They can abuse public money as much as they like. They can give key jobs to their families and friends. They can undermine the independence of the judiciary. They can destroy the National Prosecuting Authority. They can undermine the very foundation of our democracy because they know there will be no consequences. And the only consequences that count in a democracy in the end is being voted out of office. And that is why the vote is so important. And that is why people must use it, because that is the real power in a democracy.